Detective Clara Harlow stood behind the two-way mirror, arms crossed tight against her chest. On the other side of the glass sat the man who had ended a year-long nightmare for the city of Dunsmire. His name was Ian Crowley, a 38-year-old mechanic with a twitch in his jaw and hands that never stopped fidgeting. I get it. Ian had said the moment he was brought in. All of them, 10 women, all killed within the same 3-mile radius. Each body marked by a black ribbon, tied around the left ankle. Each time, no sign of forced entry. Each time, the media used the same phrase. The ribbon killer strikes again. And now, it was over. At least, it was supposed to be. Clara walked into the room and sat across from him. Why now, Ian? Why confess? He leaned forward, voice gravelly. Because I got tired of dreaming about them. Clara didn't believe in easy endings, but the evidence had aligned. Tools in Ian's garage matched the ligature marks. Fibers from his old truck were found on victim number 7. His DNA was on the ribbon left at the last scene. It was airtight. Clean. Too clean. 2 weeks after the trial began. Ian took a plea deal. Life without parole. The city exhaled. The police force got medals. Clara got promoted. And then 3 months. Later, it happened again. The body was found posed in the same ritualistic fashion. Female. Young. Ribbon on the ankle. No sign of entry. Clara stared at the scene under the yellow crime scene tape. Her partner, Detective Eli Torres, crouched beside the victim and glanced up. You're thinking it, aren't you? He asked. That we locked up the wrong man? No. I'm thinking either we caught a copycat with one hell of a twisted sense of timing, or the real killer just let us think Ian was guilty. She sighed. Or both. Clara hated being wrong. She hated it more when lives were on the line. The idea that someone had let Ian take the fall and then waited just long enough for the city to relax made her skin crawl. This murder wasn't rushed or sloppy. It was calculated, almost like a message just for her as they left the crime scene. Claire's phone buzzed. A private number. She hesitated before answering. A distorted voice came through. Male. Cole. You looked relieved when Ian confessed. You shouldn't have been. Click. No trace. No repeat call. Claire's blood ran cold. Whoever it was. They were watching her. The next morning, a second body turned up. Same profile. Same method. 2 in 2 days. Clara pushed through the press, ignoring the flashes and microphones. Eli was already on site, looking more pissed and puzzled. 2 bodies in 2 days, he said. We've got someone trying to make a damn point. Clara looked at the ribbon. This one had something different. The initials C were embroidered in red thread at the edge. Her initials. She didn't flinch, but inside, her gut turned. I think this isn't about the victims anymore, she whispered. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She stared at the wall of photos. In her home office, victims, timelines, maps, patterns, Ian's face in the center. She picked up a photo. From 6 months ago, one of the first victims. Eliza Maynard, young, ambitious, had just landed a modeling deal. Clara remembered interviewing her agent, Rachel Dane. Sharp-featured, eyes like ice, and a voice that sounded like it always knew something you didn't. Rachel had dismissed Eliza's death as a tragedy of bad luck. Clara remembered her saying that phrase verbatim, without a flicker of emotion. A name floated into her mind. Rachel Dane. Clara did a quick background search. Something was off. Rachel had changed her name. 10 years ago, just after moving from Seattle, where coincidentally 3 similar murders had occurred. All unsolved. All featuring ribbon marks. Clara's pulse quickened. Eli, she called over the phone. I think we need to talk to someone. He didn't pick up. She tried again. Still no answer. Her phone buzzed again. A message this time. Unknown. Number. You're getting too close. Stay away, Clara. Her mouth went dry. The killer wasn't just watching. They were inviting her to play. Clara drove straight to Eli's apartment, her tires squealing as she pulled into the lot. Her heart thudded in her chest like a warning bell. She knocked, then pounded on his door. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. Just as she turned to leave, the door creaked open. Eli stood there shirtless, rubbing his eyes. You okay? He asked grudgingly. She shoved past him. Why the hell didn't you answer your phone? He shut the door. Because I was sleeping. I've been chasing evidence for 36 hours straight. Clara exhaled, partly in relief, partly in frustration. She looked at him, messy hair, low-slung pajama pants, a slash of muscle peeking from his side. A sharp contrast to the stiff, suited partner she worked beside every day. He raised an eyebrow. You're staring, Harlow. I'm thinking, she said quickly. About? Rachel Dane? Eli's face darkened. Eliza's agent? Clara nodded and handed him her tablet, showing the old murder records from Seattle. 3 women. Same victim profile. Same ribbon. She lived there back then under a different name. Renee Dalton. Eli sat down, scrolling through the files. Damn, it's like she changed identities and moved cities just as the trail got hot. She might be the real killer, Eli, or at least knows who is. Eli stood and reached for his shirt. Let's go talk to her. Tonight? Clara hesitated. Let's not announce ourselves. I want to see what she's like when no one's watching. Rachel. Dane's home was a modern 2-story glass and steel structure on the edge of Dunsmire's upper district. Through the windows, lights flickered low. Soft jazz, spilling into the night. Clara and Eli parked a block away and walked up in silence. Clara crouched beside a trimmed hedge and pulled out binoculars. Eli gave her a look. You always carry those? You don't? They watched as Rachel stepped into view, draped in a black silk robe. She moved with the elegance of someone who knew they were being watched and liked it. A man followed her from the hallway. Shirtless, athletic, barely older than 20. Is that a model from her agency? Clara said. Tyson Lake. He was Eliza's replacement? Inside, Rachel poured 2 glasses of wine and leaned in to kiss him slow, deliberate, eyes half closed as if she was putting on a performance for invisible cameras. Tyson didn't resist. I think she uses them, Clara said, voice sharp. Toys them. Discards them. And maybe kills them, Eli added as they watched. Rachel walked over to a drawer and opened it. She pulled out something small. Clara adjusted the lens. A ribbon. Clara's breath hitched. Rachel tied it around Tyson's wrist like a bracelet, then whispered something into his ear. He laughed. But his laugh didn't reach his eyes. She's playing games, Clara murmured. Even now, she might know we're watching. The lights dimmed. Curtains drew themselves closed. Silence returned. Clara pulled back. Tomorrow. First thing, we bring her in. Eli didn't move. You really think she'll crack? I think if I sit across from her long enough, she'll slip. Eli touched her arm. Be careful. She's not like the others. Clara looked at him, then down at his hand. Neither am I. The next morning, Rachel Dane walked into the station before they even called her. Her lips were painted red, her eyes calm. She wore a power suit tailored black, slit at the thigh, plunging neckline that made the room heat up as she passed. I heard you're investigating a copycat, she said, settling across from Clara with a smile. I thought I'd save you the trouble and come in myself. Clara narrowed her gaze. We were just about to reach out. Of course you were. Clara slid a photo of Eliza across the table. You knew her well. Rachel's expression softened almost too perfectly. She had potential. Beautiful, but foolish. Foolish how? She thought her beauty made her invincible. Did you ever feel jealous of her? Rachel chuckled. Darling, I made her. Clara leaned in. Did you know her ankle had a ribbon on it when we found her? Rachel's lips curled. How poetic. That's not an answer. Rachel crossed her legs slowly. No, I didn't. But I've always liked ribbons. Something about them. Tight and elegant. Clara felt the shift in the air. The flirtation, the boldness. Rachel wasn't intimidated. She was enjoying the dance. You've changed names before, Clara said, voice hardening. You were Renee Dalton in Seattle? Rachel raised a brow, but didn't flinch. We all have past lives, don't you? Clara stood. This isn't over. Rachel smiled wider. Oh, but it never really began, did it? As she walked out, Clara felt the pieces shifting again, like the game had just entered a new level. And she wasn't sure who was in control anymore. The storm broke over Dunsmire that night, thunder grumbling like a warning. Clara sat at her kitchen table, phone in hand, replaying Rachel's last words over and over. Oh, but it never really began, did it? It was a dare, a challenge. Rachel had sat there in the interrogation room like she owned it, and for a moment, Clara had felt like the one being studied. Her thoughts were interrupted by a sharp knock. Eli. He looked soaked to the bone. But there was fire in his eyes. We've got another body. Midtown Hotel. Room 811. Victim? He hesitated. Tyson Lake. Clara grabbed her coat. Let's go. The hotel was cordoned off, the air heavy with the scent of too many perfumes and too little truth. Room 811 was unlocked by a pale, trembling manager who swore he hadn't seen or heard anything until the maid screamed. Inside, the scene was brutal in its precision. Tyson lay sprawled on the bed, limbs arranged neatly. A black ribbon tied around his throat, tight, neat, symbolic. No signs of a struggle, no signs of fear, just like the others. Except this time there's something new. The room was covered in red silk sheets, red silk curtains, red silk ribbons, at least 20 draped across furniture. Like a twisted artist's installation. Clara walked in slowly, her boots sinking into the thick rug. Eli stood beside the body, his jaw tense. There's no doubt now, he said. This isn't a copycat. This is someone staging a message. Clara looked down. Something shimmered on Tyson's wrist. A smudge of lipstick, bright red, shaped like a kiss. I want Rachel in a cell, she snapped. Now. They brought her in at 3 a.m. Rachel didn't fight it. She arrived in a silk robe, the same shade of red as the room. Lips perfectly painted and heels that clicked like gunshots down the hall. She didn't speak until she was seated. Let me guess, she purred. You found my boy. You killed him, Clara said flatly. Rachel tilted her head. What makes you so sure? Because his wrist had your lipstick. The room was covered in silk, and your DNA is all over the bed. Rachel gave a slow, theatrical shrug. So we slept together. That's not illegal. Detective, Tyson was ambitious. He wanted to impress me. You strangled him? Rachel leaned in, her voice soft and intimate. Do you really think I'd get my hands dirty? Clara stared, didn't waver. You were the last person with him. Rachel smiled like a woman who knew the rules better than the players. Then charge me, or let me go. By morning, she walked free. No murder weapon, no surveillance footage, no witnesses. Just suspicion and red silk. Clara paced the precinct like a caged animal. She's mocking us, she muttered. Eli leaned against his desk, eyes heavy. She's careful. Everything she does is calculated. Seduction, submission, even her damn perfume. There's nothing random about her. Clara paused. What if that's her weapon? What? She doesn't kill with knives or guns. She kills with obedience, with charm. She makes them trust her, love her. Then someone else does the dirty work. Eli frowned. An accomplice? Clara nodded. Someone behind the scenes. She commands. They obey. Later that day, Clara returned to Rachel's agency under a false appointment. Inside, models walked like statues, beautiful and bored. Clara scanned the walls' glossy portraits, casting schedules, and one odd hallway marked private authorized only. She waited for a moment when the receptionist was distracted, then slipped through the door. Inside. She found a small studio mirror-lined walls, cameras set in every corner. Dozens of labeled tapes lined the shelves. She picked one at random. Tyson_L_02.MOV. She slid it into the player. The screen flickered. Tyson sat on the edge of a bed, shirtless, smiling awkwardly. Rachel appeared. You want this, don't you? She said on camera, voice low and hypnotic. Tyson nodded. Then do as I say. He did. And in the corner of the frame, someone else stood in the shadows, watching, waiting. Tall, broad male silhouette, face hidden by darkness. Clara hit pause. She'd found the accomplice. That night, Claire didn't go home. She stayed in the station, scanning tape after tape watching as Rachel seduced, commanded, rehearsed, and recorded. Each tape was like a ritual. The ribbon killer wasn't just killing. They were filming it like it was Art Dot and Rachel Dane. She was the director. The early hours of morning crept in, bringing a dull gray light that seeped into the precinct windows. Clara hadn't slept. Her eyes were red from the screen, and her fingers ached from rewinding, pausing. Replaying dot tape after tape showed the same pattern, Rachel pulling strings like a puppet master. She never killed anyone directly, but she orchestrated it. Her voice was the blade. Her gaze, the leash dot, and always, that same man in the shadows. She had to find out who he was. Eli, she said as soon as he arrived. She has an accomplice. I saw him on the tapes. He blinked. He stayed all night? Rachel's playing us. She uses the models, lures them, and then whoever he is, finishes the job. I need face recognition on this footage, body. Profiling, everything. Eli nodded and got to work. But Clara could feel the tension between them, his eyes lingering a second longer on her tired face. His voice softer than usual. Clara, he said quietly, what happens if we're right? We bring her down, she said, without hesitation. But the truth was, this case had crossed into obsession. Rachel wasn't just another killer. She was in Clara's head now, twisting it. Later that evening, a match came through. The man in the shadows was Victor Ames, former stuntman. No current address. No bank activity. But one glaring detail stood out. He was Rachel Dane's ex-husband. The file said he vanished 5 years ago. Clara sat back, stunned. Double quotes wait. Rachel never mentioned being married. Eli looked grim. Because officially she never was. There's no license, no records. Just a few paparazzi photos of them on red carpets back when she was Renee Dalton. Then poof, he disappears, and she changes her name. So he's her ghost, Clara whispered. Her enforcer. Clara's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You're pulling threads. Careful they don't strangle you. She showed it to Eli. We need to flush them out, she said. Eli hesitated. You're not thinking of baiting her, are you? Clara's silence said it all. That night, Clara put on a wire and walked into Rachel's agency, not as a cop, but as a woman. She wore a fitted black dress, heels, and just enough lipstick to send the message, I'm not here on business. Rachel greeted her at the door with a curious smile. Detective Harlow? What a surprise, Clara smirked. Maybe I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Rachel led her inside like a hostess with a secret. The lights were low, music pulsing softly. Models came and went, none staying long. You came alone? Rachel asked. Shouldn't I have? Rachel circled her slowly. You look different out of uniform. Softer. Almost inviting. Clara didn't blink. Maybe I wanted you to see me like this. Rachel moved closer, her fingers grazing Clara's wrist. Be careful. Some women, like me, have a habit of ruining good things. I'm not afraid of being ruined, Clara said. Rachel laughed, delighted. You really are something, detective. She leaned in, lips just brushing Clara's ear. Victor likes women who talk back. You might catch his eye. That was the first time she said his name aloud. Clara didn't flinch. She whispered back, I hope I do. By the time Clara left the building, her heart was thudding harder than any chase. She got into the unmarked car where Eli was listening to the wire feed. You okay? He asked. Clara stared out the windshield. I think she wanted me to come. She's testing you. No, Clara said. She's grooming me. Eli. When still. You think she wants you as her next victim? No, Clara whispered. I think she wants me as her next partner. Hours later, the footage showed Rachel entering the basement of her agency, somewhere Clara had never seen before. A private stairwell, hidden. Clara and Eli returned that night with a warrant and backup. Guns drawn, flashlights sweeping. The building was silent. They broke through the basement door. What they found stopped them cold. Soundproof dungeon walls covered in velvet, chains, cameras, costumes, ribbons in every color. A single bed in the center with red silk sheets dotting on the wall. Photos of Clara. Dozens of them. Some from crime scenes. Others from her apartment window. One from that morning, getting coffee. All pinned like trophies. She was the next scene, and the curtain was about to rise. The basement was a twisted shrine, each detail carefully curated like the set of a film. But the photos of Clara weren't just surveillance. They were obsession. In some, her face was circled in red. In others, notes were scribbled. Eyes like fire. Knees breaking in. Future star. Clara stood frozen as Eli swept the room with his flashlight. "She's been watching you for weeks," he said, his voice tight. "Planning this?" "No," Clara whispered. "Not just watching. She's been directing. Every step." Eli turned. "She chose you?" Clara looked at the bed. The ribbons, the red silk soaking in the symbolism. Rachel never killed impulsively. Every murder was staged. Beautiful. Intimate Dot. And now Clara had been cast in the lead role. "Where's Victor?" she asked. "I think he's close," Eli said. "Too close." The creak of wood echoed above them. Someone was walking overhead. "Move," Clara snapped. They climbed the stairs two at a time. Guns drawn, breath tight. The agency was dark, empty. Silent Dot until the music started. A haunting, jazzy tune drifted through the speakers, smooth and slow. Like the soundtrack to a noir film. Clara followed the sound into Rachel's main studio. She was there, Dot sitting in a high-backed chair, like a queen on a throne. A glass of wine in one hand. Dressed in red silk. Behind her, a camera was already recording. "Welcome," Rachel said, voice like velvet. "You found my stage." Clara raised her gun. "It's over, Rachel." Rachel smiled. "Darling, it hasn't even started." Eli moved to flank her, but Rachel didn't flinch. "You've always been special, Clara," she said. Sharp, angry, lonely. "I watched you unravel case after case, solving puzzles like a savior, but deep down, you crave something more. Where's Victor?" "He's nearby," Rachel purred. "He doesn't show up for just anyone. You manipulated men to kill for you. You seduced them, broke them, and filmed it like art." Rachel stood slowly. "I never forced them. I simply revealed who they were under the surface. Most people are monsters. Detective, I gave them permission." Clara stepped closer. "You'll never walk out of here again." Rachel didn't stop smiling. "Then at least let me finish the scene." A shadow moved in the corner. Victor, tall, silent, dressed in black. He stepped forward. Slow and purposeful, like a beast unchained. Clara spun to face him, gun raised. "Don't move." He paused. Then knelt, dropped a knife at her feet. Eli stepped in, training his weapon. Hands where I can see them. But Victor looked only at Rachel. And for the first time, Rachel's smile cracked. "Victor," she said, voice shaking slightly. "Get up." He didn't move. Clara watched her expression shift, controlled fury giving way to disbelief. "You disobeyed me?" She whispered. Clara realized it then. Rachel never feared the law. She feared losing control. "Why now, Victor?" Clara asked. "Why betray her?" He looked up, eyes hollow. "She promised she'd stop. After the last one. After Tyson. But she never stops. Not until they're broken." His voice cracked. "I used to love her." Rachel took a slow step back, her cool slipping into panic. Clara didn't hesitate. She cuffed her. Rachel fought like a snake twisting, but it was over. 3 hours later, Clara stood outside the agency, the sky beginning to lighten. Red and blue lights painted the pavement. Rachel and Victor were both in custody. The tapes, the dungeon, the evidence dash, airtight. Eli stood beside her, silent. "You okay?" "Yes." Clara nodded slowly. "It's strange. I thought catching her would feel like victory, but all I feel is exhausted." "She got in your head. She made me want to understand her." That's the danger with people like Rachel. They don't just kill, they perform. And they pull you into their script. Eli looked at her. You broke the cycle. No, she said. Victor did. I was just smart enough to listen. Weeks later, Clara received a letter. No return. Addressed. Inside was a single ribbon, black, neatly tied. With a note, you were my favorite scene. Clara burned it. Without reading it twice, she knew what it was. The final curtain call. But she wasn't watching anymore. The end.